Matt from the Trade Brigade here doing a technical analysis on ticker symbol RUN for Sunrun Inc. On the left-hand side, we have the daily time frame, and on the right-hand side, the 30-minute intraday time frame. First things first, this is the first time we've talked about the stock on the channel, so what we're going to do is start by giving ourselves a daily roadmap, just coming in and pointing out the most obvious areas of support and resistance. Then we'll talk more nuance as we drill down to the 30-minute intraday time frame. So that's quickly what I'm seeing here. What you'll notice is that we were really stuck in this large range here, just playing ping pong back and forth, and it even looked like we were starting to go forth, aka back up here off of these lows, but firmly breaking down on today's session, getting a nice candle close underneath the kind of line in the sand here, closer to 38. Obviously, there was a catalyst coming out of California, something to do with the sort of credits received for using solar. We're not going to dive into the fundamentals, but just know that's kind of what's going on in the background. Looking to our left to see what our next support is going to be, let's look here, and what I would notice is this area of lows. So basically, you get the break, retest, and pull back low, and then it really runs. So that's going to be at 35.75. And note also, you can see that level has transponded over to our 30-minute time frame chart, and it's exactly where the party sort of stopped, at least for the sellers, on today's session. So very interesting how technical analysis works, isn't it? Let's go ahead and map out one more set of lows down closer to about 28. And the other thing I would point out from the daily perspective is look at the volume in this box compared to everything we have off to the left. It got dramatically higher in July of, what was that, 2020, okay? So we're really looking at that 28.13 as a very important number. That's really where the interest in the stock sort of stemmed from. I would imagine that a majority of people who have positions in Sunrun are long from above 28.13. So anything underneath that could potentially get fairly nasty inside of the company, okay? So let's take a closer look back into, what's going on the daily here. Let's adjust that so it's a little bit cleaner. I mean, obviously we have a very weak close. We've closed fairly close down to the lows. Let's look at it through the lens of the 30-minute, and of course using our Fibonacci's to see just how weak it was. And what you'll notice if I do something like that from high to low, the little bit of dead cat bounce that we saw resisted perfectly right at the 38.2, giving us a fairly weak close. I mean, obviously closing dead on the low would have been the most weak outcome. However, closing in this general zone is much more weak than a close in the 50% or even above, which would indicate that we probably would have a daily hammer, right? None of that happened. So we are going to classify this as a fairly substantial breakdown here inside of Sunrun. This is also starting to turn into a bit of a 30-minute bear flag, right? We're getting price acceptance down here. You'll also notice the extreme volume on the closing sort of session there. So it's honestly not looking that great inside of Sunrun. To me, the only trigger that would, get us involved in an oversold bounce here would be a recapture of the low end of the daily range at 38. It's also very close to your 61.8. However, we always know that we're going to opt for structure instead of just blindly following the fibs. So what that would look like from the daily, let's actually just set this back to auto here. If we do something like this and just draw back in our rectangle and talk about the daily range, if we do something like this, what did I just draw? Technically, that would be a look below, fail back up into the range, and as we know, the target should be the top end way up here at 58.78. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to unfold all over the course of a day, a week, a month, anything like that. I'm just saying it would set up something that is fairly bullish here. I would be conservative and really just start watching for the midpoint of the range. Also, this structural element closer to 48, you can see it was prior support, then flipped resistance, then support, then resistance. I mean, all of these interactions at 48 make it a perfect first target if that's what unfolds in the first place. And also don't forget, I'm getting a little ahead of myself here. That's if we recapture 38, but look at this, right? Big shelf of prior support here at 41.09 to contend with. So that'll also be a very important area of resistance, okay? That's the only way that we're going to get involved to the long side back up and over. 38, first target here, 41, and then from there monitor for continuation, see if ultimately over the course of some time it can make it into 48. But based on everything we discussed, the fact that this is a fairly bearish consolidation pattern down here, a bear flag, bear pennant, whatever you want to call it, to me, doesn't really seem like the most likely scenario that it is going to be a look below and fail, especially noting the significance of the volume that was coming through, the catalyst that sort of set it all off. I would be watching out for either patience sideways and then eventually a breakdown of the low here from today's session to get us closer to that 28 round number underneath. Now, if it just starts moseying its way down and we print some sort of double bottom, then fine, we'll have to reevaluate the chart at some point in the future, but we can't say for now whether or not a double bottom will happen or where it will potentially happen. You'll just have to keep an eye on it. So to wrap things up here, bear flag consolidation does look likely, breakdowns do look likely based on the significance of the volume here and the fact fact that there's really not a whole lot of support here over the past past year, I should say, noting we're breaking down underneath the pullback low, which we just mentioned at 35.75. So breakdowns, yes, only getting involved to the long side for scalps and really not overstaying our welcome if it wants to take out 38 to the upside there. Those are the critical levels to be watching for. Hopefully you enjoyed today's video. If you enjoyed it or learned anything new, let me know in the comments section or by giving the video a thumbs up. Don't forget our main channel is linked in the description. And all of that being said, I wish you a green trading week.